Alachua County Court Services Director Tom Tonkavich received his bachelor's degree in psychology and sociology from Central Michigan University. He received a master's degree in business administration from Saginaw Valley State University. Prior to relocating to Florida, Mr. Tonkavich served for 12 years in Michigan County government, managing a secure juvenile detention facility, countywide youth development programs, several recreational facilities, and he oversaw community corrections programming. In addition, he has worked extensively in the nonprofit community, leading organizations providing a broad range of substance abuse prevention and treatment services. His professional career began working with the state of Michigan, providing services for delinquent youth. In 2006, he relocated to Florida and was hired as the Alachua County Jail Population Manager. He has worked extensively on jail population issues like helping to implement new services for the mentally ill and substance abusers, coordinating the Alachua County Justice Reinvestment Project, and providing data reports and analysis to the various criminal justice system stakeholders. In August of this year, he was appointed as the new director of the Alachua County Court Services Department. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you, Mark. It's good to be here.
Tom, Court Services is a large department with a lot of different divisions and a lot of different services it provides, but in a nutshell, if you had to say quickly, what was the mission of the Department of Court Services, what would that be?
The short version, we have three primary functions. Number one is to provide information to the courts. Almost everybody that we work with are adult criminal offenders. And so I'm talking about the criminal courts. We provide information to them to help the court make key decisions on what to do with that individual's case. Secondly, for those individuals who can be safely released to the community, we provide supervision services, meaning we have regular contact with them. We help them understand what the court requires of them, what they need to do, give them mindful reminders to get those kinds of things done. And then thirdly, we're really in the life-changing business. We provide substance abuse treatment services, for example. We work with the mentally ill. We try to help people become productive, contributing members of Alachua County, helping them get their GED, for example, or maybe obtain some kind of meaningful employment.
About how large is your department? How many full-time employees do you have?
We have almost 100 full-time employees. Our budget is about $9 million, including a portion for the Juvenile Justice Center. So actual for our in-house operations, it's closer to about $8 million.
And where does most of your funding come from? I know a good part of it comes from the county's general fund, but do you receive other funding?
We do. We've got some federal grants that we administer through court services, and then we also have a variety of user fees associated with our services. There's monthly cost of supervision fees, for example, charges for drug testing, things of that nature.
Pretrial services. Who does pretrial services serve?
For the most part, when you're arrested in Alachua County, if you're not able to bond out before 6 a.m., you'll go to what we call first appearance. Pretrial services, one of the key things they do is they interview everybody that's going to first appearance, and they also try to verify their community ties, try to contact and see if there's any concerns with this individual's release. So everybody that's arrested and going to first appearance gets touched by pretrial services in terms of being interviewed. That staff also are in court at 9 o'clock when first appearance starts to provide information to the judge regarding each individual's case, their circumstances as far as how long have they lived in Alachua County, are they employed, these kinds of things. Pretrial also supervises people that are released on a pretrial status, meaning they haven't been sentenced yet, they've been charged with a crime. Doesn't mean that they're guilty of committing it, right. Just that they've been charged. The judge can release them to the supervision of court services, to our pretrial program, which has contact supervision, which is really just reminding people of their court dates, kind of keeping in touch with them. We have a little higher level of supervision called treatment supervision, which is accompanied by people being evaluated for substance abuse treatment, mental illness, those types of things. And if there is a need for treatment, then they have to follow the recommended course. We also have our most intense form of supervision, which we call electronic monitoring, or GPS, where somebody wears an electronic monitor that tells us where they're at, alerts us if they're somewhere where they shouldn't be. And then lastly, Pretrial also runs the mental health court. We're a very key participant in that. It's not just our program, others are involved in that, but we're very involved in helping to manage the docket for mental health court.
Do your investigators actually hand the judge at that first appearance a report on an individual?
They're very well prepared. By the time they get to first appearance, a criminal history's been run. We've tried to make whatever contacts we can, again, to verify who they are and their ties to the community. And they're available, and they do make recommendations to the judge during court.
What about your clinical programs?
Our clinical programs include a range of both supervision and treatment services. We have a drug court, where it's really for individuals that have a drug problem based on the premise of getting them treatment, helping them to learn to live substance-free, so that they can then become productive in terms of maintaining their employment. Along with drug court, there's really two components to it, or two key components. One is actual time spent in court, where you're held accountable for your performance in the program. Are you maintaining the contact that you need to? Are you having clean drug tests? Things of that nature. And a person will move through a series of phases in drug court. There's also drug court as a therapeutic process. And so in actual court, the judge and the other participants are trying to provide incentives, a pat on the back for having a clean test this week. Also, if there needs to be sanctions because somebody maybe didn't do some of the things that they were supposed to, the judge can impose some sanctions, which can range up to jail time.
And I should have asked you first who goes to drug court, but if you've been arrested for a drug offense, drug court is an alternative to going through the normal criminal justice program?
Or if you meet the criteria.
Okay.
There's really two components to drug court, what's called diversion drug court, which is really designed if a person is successful in drug court, their charges go away. They're not convicted. There's also a second component, which is called post-plea, which for people that have a little bit more extensive criminal history, and essentially they're being given the option to go to drug court or to enter some other kind of plea, which may oftentimes involve going to prison.
And then the OPUS, the Outpatient Treatment Services, how does that fit in?
OPUS is really our effort to try to conserve taxpayer dollars. A few years ago, we looked at how we were spending some of our contracting dollars, where we were contracting with different agencies for treatment services. Mm-hmm. And we made a decision that we could do it more effective by providing those services ourselves. Now, OPUS is a very integrated component with drug court. It's the actual individual and group sessions that people have to work on their substance abuse issues.
And those take place in a county facility?
In a county facility, actually in the same building the drug court's located in. Now that is just outpatient, and it's not necessarily the appropriate level of treatment for everyone. Some individuals may need residential treatment, and so we work with Meridian. We also have our metamorphosis program. Some people may need a more intensive form of outpatient treatment, and we do have some contracts, and so we do still send some people out to other agencies.
And that happens pre-sentencing or post-sentencing or both?
Both.
Or, okay.
Both. And it's actually expanded now. We were able to obtain a federal grant, part of the stimulus package, to where we've been able to even extend those services beyond people that are in drug court, or another one of our programs called day reporting. We're now able to offer those services for both pretrial defendants as well as people that we have on county probation.
And you mentioned Meridian. Meridian is obviously the mental health facility here in Alachua County, and you contract with them?
Mental health and substance abuse services.
Okay. And why would someone go to Meridian versus one of our in-house programs?
If we don't have a program or level of care called intensive outpatient, it's about very intensive. You spend 4 or 5 hours a day going through treatment activities. and we would refer somebody to Meridian that needed that level of care. Meridian also has the detoxification services, and they also have their Bridge House residential program, which is a little shorter term stay that could be, again, appropriate for somebody. We have our trained clinicians, licensed folks that make those kinds of decisions for us.
We also have sentencing alternatives as part of court services. So this means somebody has gone through the criminal justice system and it's now at the point where the judge is deciding what to do with that person. Is that where this comes into play?
There's, yes, for the most part. There's really three components to sentencing alternatives. There's our day reporting program, which serves both pretrial and sentenced individuals. There's kind of a dual component to it. There's also county probation, which there's different levels associated with that. And then we have a very large community service work program.
And one question I think that comes up in the public's mind is, no, wait a minute, are you letting dangerous people who belong in jail out of jail? But it's my understanding that that's not what sentencing alternatives is about.
Well, I think we all do our best to assess those risks. There's no perfect tool, no perfect way of doing it, but we do look very carefully at somebody's criminal history. Generally speaking, if you've been committed for a violent offense, if you're a sex offender, sex predator, you're not going to qualify for one of our programs, generally speaking. Mm-hmm. And so we do look carefully at that. We try to make sure, too, that people can be successful in our programs. Say, for example, that you've got the way to get, if you need to report every day, that you've got the way to get to our program to report every day, so we don't just set the person up for failure.
The community service, alternative services, in a previous lifetime I worked for a nonprofit organization, and we were one of the organizations on the list that you all have. And I thought that was an excellent program. Provided a lot of service to both the nonprofits who needed it, and then gave offenders a way to work off their sentence. How many organizations do you work with on that program?
We currently have agreements with 170 work sites throughout Alachua County, and by statute they're either governmental or they're a nonprofit organization. Community service is an area we've seen a lot of growth in, and it's really changed a little bit, probably from what you're familiar with. We still have the work sites that we send people out to. We also have what we call work crews, which are basically people report to our office downtown. We load them onto a 15-passenger van and we take them out to a work site. And as kind of an extension of that now, again, with the budgetary issues that we're all facing and trying to be more efficient with taxpayer dollars, we're actually working with facilities to do, or I'm sorry, Public Works, to do some parks maintenance. We have a work crew organized that's taking care of the maintenance of 3 of our county parks.
So the county gets first dibs on the work crews, huh?
Well, they get some, and we're actually, you know, it's not just a cost savings. I mean, that's the nice benefit for the taxpayers, but we're hoping too to take it a little step further over time as we learn more and get more experience with it, to really turn it into a skill building kind of thing, where, you know, if we have people working on roads and bridges, for example, learning some skills that can translate into some kind of employment for them, some kind of stable employment. So.
Now, I heard you say at some meeting that you were providing the level 1 supervision that used to be provided by the clerk of the court. Is that correct?
Correct.
And what does that mean?
What it means is that for people that are committed, or convicted of relatively minor crimes, misdemeanors, criminal traffic charges, the court will impose certain special conditions upon them. And it really takes somebody to make sure that that gets done and to help people get that done. That's one of our largest caseloads now, several thousand people. And it can be things ranging from writing a letter of apology to someone for, you know, maybe some kind of minor property damage that was done. It can be somebody that needs to complete a driver's improvement class, for example, to make sure that that gets done, or to do their community service hours. But it's a little higher level of supervision than I think what the clerk was able to do, and then there were some statutory changes as well that the clerk was no longer able to do it. So we've assumed that.
And the county probation office is under your department. Who, I don't quite understand the difference between state probation and county probation. Who does the county probation office serve, or what class of offender? Or
It's really based on the level of offense. Our county probation department has people that have committed, again, misdemeanor offenses and criminal traffic offenses. State probation would be the people that have committed felony offenses, the more serious types of charges.
how many people on the average day do you have participating in county probation?
Each of our officers carries a caseload of about 125 individuals. There's 10 officers altogether, so
Is that right?
12 to 1,300 cases. It varies a bit. Yeah.
Huh. And let's see, there's also day reporting. And where does that fit into this?
Day reporting, as you can probably surmise by its name, is a very intense supervisory program. It also includes some treatment services. Folks that are ordered to participate in day reporting typically have failed in other types of supervision programs. They didn't maintain contact like they were supposed to. Maybe they were on county probation and they were required to do certain things by the court and they didn't do them, they weren't able to complete them. They can be ordered to day reporting either on a pretrial basis, meaning their case is still pending, or they can be ordered there as part of probation as well. And very intense level of supervision. They can be seen up to every day. You can be required to report, depends on the individual's unique circumstances. And then they also, like I said, provide treatment services. A lot of our folks that need that level of supervision have substance abuse problems. They may have some kind of mental illness. And so again, we try to work with the treatment providers to make sure those needs are addressed.
So this provides one more opportunity to not just automatically go back to the county jail.
Right.
It gives you one alternative to that, and I know that a huge part of what you do is trying to keep that jail population down for obvious reasons. The cost of a day's stay at the county jail is quite high.
Well, the jail operation is very expensive, and I believe too that a lot of what we're able to do, you alluded to a little bit, is to help people maintain their lives in the community. These are not, for the most part, folks that are going to be going to prison because of what they did. Right. These are folks that have gotten involved in some criminal behaviors. They could be your neighbors, family members, friends, that, you know, they're really members of our community, and we want to try to make it possible for them to stay here. And getting involved in the legal system has a lot of connotations for you in terms of your employment, continuing school. We try to keep those things, those positive things going for people.
Another facility you have is the work release facility, and you know, you've got a lot of interesting steps and a lot of different alternatives available. How does work release differ from these other programs? Well,
the big difference is work release, you need to be a sentenced criminal offender. Okay. Work release also does work with some felony offenders, in addition to the misdemeanor and criminal traffic folks. There are people that have been sentenced to do time in the county jail. The goal there is, if they have a job, to try to get them over to the work release center if they meet the criteria so they can continue their employment. Gives them an opportunity to pay towards the cost of their care. We charge 50% of your earnings as room and board to be in the work release program. Oh. The other 50% can go to help support the family, can go to pay court costs, make restitution, pay fines, things of that nature. If somebody doesn't have a job when they come into work release, they have to get a job, and on average, they're able to get a job within 7 days of coming into the center.
Do you start in the county jail and then you earn your way to work release, or how does that work?
Well, everybody that's in work release is still considered in jail custody. There's a screening process that has to be completed. Of course, we screen people out that are violent offenders. Any kind of sex offender is not qualified to go there. You have to have enough time remaining on your sentence to make it worthwhile to be in the program. For people that have a job in hand when they arrive, they need to have at least 30 days left on their sentence. If they don't have a job, then they need to have at least 60 days left on their sentence. But there's a screening process, and then packages put together for the judge to consider, the sentencing judge. And the sentencing judge ultimately makes the decision whether or not they're going to allow that person to go into work release.
And I'm curious, how much money is raised from that payback feature? in work release, or do you have that figure at your fingertips? Or?
It's roughly about $380,000 a year that comes to Alachua County government. There's an additional piece, and I can't give you that number off the top of my head, that's contributed towards court cost and restitutions and fines. So it's a pretty significant amount.
I know you got obtained a new program in, I think it was February of 2011, the No Wrong Door program. What you've got a new division, Tom?
Yeah, actually, that's within sentencing alternatives right now.
Oh, is that right?
Alachua County received a federal grant, actually several, as I mentioned, but this is one of them. And this is a brand new endeavor. No Wrong Door is really designed for people that are under our supervision that have substance abuse and mental health issues that prevent them from being able to be successful in our programs. And we try to kind of put a foundation under people. For a good example is we have what we call transitional housing. So someone that doesn't have a good place to stay can, through our No Wrong Door program, get assistance with housing, which then can make it possible for us to do other things, to supervise them in the community, to help them get access to treatment programs so that, again, they can be successful as they go through our programs. There's also a major issue with people that need psychotropic medications to manage their mental illness. If you don't have access to those, there are some very good medications out there. But if you're homeless, you're unemployed, you don't have the resources, it's very hard to get those on a reliable basis. And so No Wrong Door tries to plug that gap a little bit and get people stabilized. You can be in the program for up to 6 months, and then at that point in time, we've worked with you to kind of transition you into a more stable, longer-term, permanent housing situation.
I see. I know, Tom, you were the jail population manager before you were promoted to the department director position. Have they replaced your old position?
Not yet. We've got a couple key vacancies going on, and so we're working through a reorganization process. It'll take us some time to do that. We're trying the best we can to continue the things that I was doing. Most of what I've been doing, or was doing, has been reassigned to existing staff. Some of the things that I was doing, for example, a lot of the data analysis and reporting, over the last 5 years, we've worked hard to automate a lot of that.
Right.
So we're able to continue to do, I would say, about 85% of what I was doing without filling that position. And so we're looking at the resources that we used for that and a couple other, we have 2 retirements that are taking place right now.
Right.
Trying to figure out how can we reorganize, streamline, be more efficient at what we're doing.
I was really fascinated by that position, and when you first came in, as you watch the population of the jail, it ebbs and it flows, and when you all started really doing the focus on the population and how to try to impact that population staying as low as possible, balanced against, of course, you want to keep people that need to be in jail. But what were some of the things that you looked at, or what were some of the kind of disparate things that you pulled together to try to look at that jail population as a whole?
Well, let me qualify it first. It's not really about me.
Okay.
It's very much jail population control, jail population management is really something that takes a lot of partners. It takes staff at the jail, it takes programs in the community, it takes people at, like, say, the Veterans Administration or Department of Children and Families. Certainly it takes the courts, the state attorney's office, the public defender's office. I've been very grateful to be in Alachua County and see many of the novel, innovative things that we do, like our mental health court, our drug court. We've created recently some what we call forensic diversion teams and forensic specialist teams to work with people, again, that have mental illness and substance abuse issues. That's a primary component that we have in our jail, primary issue that people face. And so working together, we've been able to do a number of different things, looking at people that have real significant medical issues. For example, is there some way that if they're not a danger to the community, some other alternative for them, trying to get them hooked up with a nursing home, for example, or an alternative living facility. Certainly, we formed a great partnership with the Veterans Administration, working with their staff that are assigned to what they call their homeless veterans healthcare unit, and really using the resources that the VA has to address the needs of the people that are in the jail. Very good partnership with them, as well as, again, with Meridian Behavioral Healthcare. It's another key partner.
Is there enough capacity in all those different things to handle the need when it comes to mental health or substance abuse and how it relates to the jail population?
My answer would be an unfortunate no. Capacity in our treatment services has not kept up with growth in the jail population. We really do, in my opinion, have a need for much more residential care for people. There's a tremendous need for housing in this community, again, for people that have these issues. There's not enough resources there, no.
We're just about out of time, but I know that in the last legislative session there was a move on the part of some state legislators to do away with pretrial services. And I know a number of your staff were up there testifying during all of that. Do you anticipate having that challenge again as we go into the 2012 session?
It looks like it's going to brew up again. And it's really not so much about eliminating pretrial services as it is some efforts to try to limit who can be released to a pretrial program. And our view on it, and why we've spent a lot of time on it, is it really takes discretion away from the judiciary to make decisions as to what's best for that community. Things can be different in Alachua County than say in Broward County or in Columbia County. The level of resources and the kinds of programs that we have, even the nature of the criminal trends that we face in the various communities throughout Florida are all different. And the legislation concerns us because it takes away the kind of home county rule in terms of what's best for Alachua County. We don't think that's driven by other special interest groups.
There seemed to be quite an effort statewide in terms of counties pulling together, and the Florida Association of Counties going up to testify and contacting legislators. So we'll keep our fingers crossed on that this year.
We'll continue to monitor it. As you mentioned, I think these kinds of programs are good for the community. I mean, they're cost effective. They really conserve taxpayer resources. Our jail would have to be much larger than it is today. If you took all the folks that we have under various supervision programs and in treatment programs, if they were all in the jail, it would probably be double the size that it currently is.
What is that latest number? What does a day in jail cost these days in the county jail? I know it fluctuates. But
yeah, the average cost is somewhere in the neighborhood of about $80 a day, though that's not really the best way to look at jail cost, because it's not, the cost of the jail is not really driven by each additional person, but it's by, if you have to open up another housing unit with another 100 beds, it's not $80, it's several $1 million to make that happen. So.
Well, Tom, congratulations on the position, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Mark. It's good to be here.